Final Fantasy is nowhere near the end, and Riot is only letting you talk with your friends. And what's Jeff Strain up to? Coming to you pre-recorded from our top secret studio in the inner crust of the earth, it's GG Replay. GG Replay is, of course, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday podcast where we break down the latest in gaming news, hosted by us, the Goodnight Groofs, a place for games and a place for some flipping goofs. We're workshopping the slogan, we're workshopping the whole dang thing. I'm Paul, and I'm joined as always by Matt. How's it going today, Matt?
Well, that was quite the intro.
You like it?
Where did this come from?
Well, you know what? We're talking about it later. We're talking about G4 coming back, and I was inspired by the OG Screensavers intro.
Oh, okay.
Coming to you live from the Tech TV studios in San Francisco at the Screensavers. So I decided to give a little,
Very
give
nice.
a little blip. It was kind of fun. I don't know.
No, you were an old Screensavers fan.
I was. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but yeah, G4 is back, babies, for better or for worse. How are you doing, Matt? Yeah, what's going on?
I'm all right.
Anything crazy?
No,
Yeah.
boring day. Really boring.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's going. This is the highlight of my day, Paul.
Me too.
Really is.
Me too.
Nothing
Playing some
else
games
going on
and
here.
doing some replay. I got my Tim Hortons here, so really showing my Canadian coming through here. My plaid and my Tim Hortons.
So when you say Tim's, that's what people are referring to, right?
Tim's is Tim Hortons for sure. Yeah,
okay.
Timmy Hose. I don't think most people call it Timmy Hose. Weird old people do. They think they're very funny. All right, all right. Let's, because we have a packed show today and a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. So first off, just a reminder to everyone, corrections and comments. If you come across any necessary corrections in today's episode, please send them to ggreplayshow@gmails.com. Don't send it to gmails.com. I don't know what's on that website, and I'm not willing to check. Or head down to the YouTube comments below so we can address them in the next episode. Also, if you have any comments or just want to chat with us at all, also send emails or leave comments on the YouTube video, because we love to hear from you. Let us know if you like the Screensavers style intro. Maybe we'll keep it up. All right, Matt, let's get right into the stories today. First off, we're talking about Final Fantasy XIV. It has now become the most profitable Final Fantasy game ever. Pretty intense. Yoshi P stated the total player count has grown tremendously over the years. Obviously, this was like I think a 2013 release, right? And then they redid the whole game over the next couple of years, right?
I think it was a 2010 release originally.
Okay. So 2013 was maybe like the redo. But from 4 million players in 2015, thank you for looking that up, Matt, to 10 million in 2017, and now a whopping 24 million players in 2021. Interesting to note, in my view, do you have the numbers for the years there, Matt?
Yeah, original release was September 2010, and then you were right, 2013.
It was ROM Reborn.
Yeah, August 20.
Yeah. Pretty impressive. I mean, listen, so here's my first thought here is WoW killer, right? I mean, remember like top WoW numbers were somewhere around like 11 or 12 million, or that's at least when they kept talking about them, but that was likely peak game, right? Or else they'd probably keep talking about them. My question is, obviously we're talking about profitability here, but also we're also talking about player count. Like it's funny that Yoshi P is talking about player count. They're talking about profitability. I have to imagine this very duded up metric has to do with the fact that the entirety of the base game plus the first expansion, Heaven's Word, are free. Are free to play.
Yeah.
I imagine that has something to do with the player base, right? So, I mean, obviously, 24 million sounds really good to someone like me. I'm like, wow, it's double what WoW was at its peak, but also WoW didn't have a free version like that.
Right. Let's remember, WoW's was, I think, 12.5 million at concurrent subscriptions at the peak. This is, from what I could tell, this is like people who've played the game. I don't think 24 million is concurrent players.
This is cumulative potentially.
I think that's like sales of the game, maybe 24 million copies
like
of the
individual
game.
accounts
Yeah,
that have been made.
Something like that. I don't think that this means there are 24 million people playing the game right now, even if it's free.
Yeah, that seemed like a crazy number to me. It was kind of an interesting one to look at. But yeah, it's interesting to note. Fourth expansion, Endwalker, is going to launch on November 23rd. I think they were saying this is going to kind of be like, if not the final expansion, then at least the finality of the story, right? Like the main story they've been telling this entire time.
Yes, yeah, that's supposed to be the case, which I don't really know what that means. I guess
right.
Just the story that started with the base game, but I mean, does that mean the next expansion is a long way down the line, or it's going to be the
Or they
normal
kind
cycle
of,
and just a new story? I don't really know. It's kind of
or are they
strange.
leaving themselves open here to being like, we're not going to do more? But I don't think so, because I think there was another thing Yoshi P was saying, like they're willing to put more resources and time behind this because of how profitable and how well it's received, right? So I don't think they're planning to like drop this anytime soon.
Sure. Maybe Final
Yeah,
Fantasy 17 will be the next MMO. Who knows?
maybe that would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. This is pretty interesting news. I think when you look at the number of all the other Final Fantasy games are like these one-time buys, right? And I think that's obviously
Well,
in
except
some
11.
ways,
11's the
except
other MMO.
right. My bad. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see this being the most profitable one. I guess it makes sense when you have like microtransactions, you have subs, you have all these other things here. There's a lot going on here to bolster that, especially when there's such a good free trial or free demo to get people into the game. And then by the time, if they're willing to get all the way to where the trial ends, and at that point they're gonna buy the rest of the game. Are you telling me people would get to like the first expansion and then quit and go, I got my free money out of it? I doubt it. But still, even then, that's good money. Like we don't know the amount, but the fact that that's beaten, say Final Fantasy 15 is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean it's very impressive. I mean, it's not really shocking that they had an MMO product that caught on and that ended up being the most profitable option, or of all the Final Fantasies.
Yep.
If it was going to be, if they were going to have a successful MMO, obviously that was going to become the most profitable
Yeah.
one. But it's interesting that it, I guess, took this really big push over the last 8 months or so to kind of bring them to that point. I guess I would have thought even prior to that they would have been looking at the most profitable version of this series. But yeah, clearly over the last 8 months, I mean, there's been a massive, not just exodus from WoW, but just people trying it who might not even normally be MMO players in general. I think there were, probably a lot of Final Fantasy fans even who were apprehensive to trying an MMO, who were just like, okay, whatever. People keep telling me this is the best Final Fantasy story, so I'm going to give it a shot. And
Sure, and I think besides hub places and things like that, I think you can really the story. It's so story driven. It really is like playing a story based open world game, experience that could be
Yeah.
single player in most ways. But you group up with people to do certain things, or you have the option to play it with your friends the whole way if you want. But ultimately, there is that kind of thing where if you just want to focus on the story, unlike other games like World of Warcraft or a lot of other MMOs, where the story is, there's like, I'm not saying there aren't good story beats in some of these games, but it never feels like you're playing, like the quests don't feel built around the fact that you're playing this like epic single player story, and it seems like Final Fantasy 14 really nails that. So it's interesting. I was going to say, does this seem like, based on the success of this, we're going to see, like you said, 17, are we going to see them put more development or more effort behind more MMO products instead of focusing on like their single player games that they're so lauded for? But I don't think so. I don't think they're really looking to, like, obviously this one, and then if this one gets dated, or just stops making as much money as it is, maybe they might update it. Maybe like you said, make a 17, make an 18 or something that has these kind of features. But that being said, I feel like they're really after the critical success, and they're very like loyal fan base more than they care about making mountains of MMOs and stuff that all kind of contradict with each other.
Yeah, but at the same time, being that it's a Japanese company and gaming in Japan is mostly a console thing. Yeah,
Yep.
there is PC gaming, but it's console first gaming over there.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this was a PS3 game that
Yep.
was then on PS4 and now on PS5. So I can imagine the higher ups at Square Enix saying, "Okay, we're on PS5 now. It's time to start developing the next MMO iteration of Final Fantasy for this console instead of just porting the old one on and on." So I could totally see them. I'm sure if Final Fantasy 17 is going to be the next MMO, they're already working on that. If it's not, then they're also still working on it. So
Yeah.
I won't be surprised if 17 or 18 at the very least is the next MMO. And you know what? Maybe there were even plans to not go the MMO route, but over the last year, maybe those have changed, and maybe they are looking at building a new MMO now. I could totally see that being the case as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Going from 11 to 14, 14 to 17, get those three
there you go.
those two stories in the middle, and then jumping to the next one. It's very possible. Obviously, dev time takes longer though, so those are bigger gaps than they once were. But yeah, I think that could track. I think it'd be a slam dunk for them. Clearly, it's the most profitable thing. So good for them. Cool stuff. Kind of shocking. I think if you'd told me about this maybe a year ago, before the WoW stuff really came to a head, and the big the big meme about Final Fantasy in the spring and the summer, this would have been quite a shock to me. Honestly, I was much more familiar with single player Final Fantasies than I ever really was with the MMO. But clearly, it's been hanging out for a while under the surface, and here it comes to a head. All right. Speaking about something that, it's not profitable yet because it's not coming out. It's still not coming out. We're a little behind. Ghost Recon Frontline's closed testing period has already been delayed, just a week after they announced the game. So kind of disappointing. Matt and I both mentioned this being something we were kind of into. Matt, yeah, right. You thought I remember we talked about this in the replay last week, right? And we were saying this was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it looked interesting. It's being sold as a massive scale game that's sort of tangentially related to the battle royale genre, like a Hunt Showdown or an Escape from Tarkov sort of thing, where it's not really a battle royale, but there are some of those elements there. And I said last week when this game was first announced that the marketing just made it straight up look like a BR, and that was the problem. So the internet hordes, they latched onto that whole BR thing, and we're clearly unhappy with it. If you look at the dislike to like ratio on the YouTube video of the announcement, it is clear where their sides, where their allegiance is. But what's crazy is people are mad about a thing that isn't actually even what's happening. Like, this is not a battle royale. Now, it might look like it. It's going to have elements of it, but it's not really playing like that traditional battle royale system. It's more you're playing as a team of 3, yes, but it's not like a trios in a battle royale. You're going in against all these other teams, but you're trying to do different objectives. You're not necessarily trying to be like the last team standing. The problem is we don't really they gave us just enough information to know that it's not a traditional battle royale, but not enough to know exactly where they're going with it. And then they also left it open to interpretation for people who weren't paying close attention to then think it is a battle royale. So the marketing was the issue.
It definitely seems like it could be, like, in a lot of ways, just like a different spin on that genre, right? Like, I mean, it definitely, unlike some of the other battle royales that really focus, like, they're all very close to each other, right? The map continually shrinks and all this kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, but even if the map doesn't shrink and they kind of like still push you to certain areas or kind of ping you to certain areas, does that not make the same basic gameplay element? We don't know, but clearly I think, like, even if it is a BR, it's not just a BR knockoff. And I think that's a big key, that even if it's going to be similar in gameplay, I think the big key is it's not going to be a full-on aping of the other games. And so it's worth looking at. It's not just another, cash in.
So technically by definition, I think that you can call it a BR, and I think that's Ubisoft's problem, is they sort of are, but sort of aren't. You can call it a BR, but when people think BR, there's a very, very specific type of game that they imagine in their mind, and that's PUBG, that's Fortnite, that's Apex Legends, and that's Warzone. And those are the four things that they think about.
It's going to be Fortnite, it's going to be Warzone, whatever. It's going to be, Apex is the main thing you're going to think, teams of 3, right? You're going to say it's Apex, but with Ghost Recon skins on it. And it's like, no, it's actually going to be different. Now, maybe, will there be last man standing kind of gameplay? Will there be points? We don't know 100%. There's objectives, clearly. There's things to base it on. There's not going to be the shrinking map. But I mean, yeah, is it kind of the same? Sure. But I think we should be not downvoting, studios and things, and not trying to, like, jump on the back of studios who are actually trying to make a difference. Like, not to, like, knock COD or Apex Legends or these other things, but I mean, they're just another twist on the same game. And I think this is obviously a twist, but much bigger. And this is something that could push it forward and change the way that BRs play. And I think it's obviously, I'm like going way in here. It may be nothing, but I think that, I think taking a big risk here instead of just making a skinned clone. So I think it's really, really cool.
I feel like this weird, I feel disconnected from the anti-BR portion of the gaming community. Like, I don't understand
Same.
it. I thought that, like, BR was maybe a younger person thing, but you and I, like, we both like Fortnite. I really like Warzone.
I like Warzone too. Yeah.
I couldn't get into Apex because of issues that were really not directly related to the BR aspects. We liked Realm Royale. Like,
Yeah.
you and I like BRs, and we're
I love BRs.
boomer gamers, you could say at this point. So like,
yeah, we're right in the mid millennial here for sure. Yeah, we're not babies.
so I feel this weird disconnect where I just don't really understand the hate for BR. It's not like that's a genre now. It just
Yeah.
That's a genre. So there are going to be new BR games going forward. It is a new genre. It's like FPS. It's like MOBA. Like, there are just going to be new games like that. I don't really understand the hate.
I guess the only hate I can imagine is some people are saying, maybe feeling, and this is just a guess, people might be feeling like instead of fleshing out a multiplayer game like a Halo Infinite or something where maybe there's a BR mode, but there's lots of modes and lots of things. We used to get, a multiplayer mode with tons of different, or multiplayer game with lots of different modes, right? And so I think a lot of people see just a BR come out and they go, okay, well, great. Well, it's fun to play it in a BR, but what about all the other types of maps I'd like to play or other types of things I'd like to play? And it's like, okay, fair enough. Development time, but also development time to make a BR is a lot less. So maybe they can put that out, make some money, see how it goes, and then come out with the other game later. Now, I guess now some people aren't going to do that. But you see like Call of Duty and stuff. What's the problem? We have Warzone, and then we also have the regular multiplayer. And we might see something similar with maybe Halo's going to come up with a BR. I mean, we haven't seen it, but obviously it's like something that is like being kicked around a little bit at 343. So yeah, I don't know. I don't get the BR hate particularly because I think it's really fun. I think it's extremely accessible. You don't need to. I find that if you play a lot of other competitive shooters, my reflexes were never great and they're shot now. I'm okay, but if I play like a 5-on-5 or something in like a team deathmatch, I have fun. But I think it's way more accessible to drop into a BR. No one cares if you drop out because it's just another number off the list if you have something to do. I think BRs especially are really great and accessible for older gamers who might have like responsibilities and things to do, or even younger gamers who have to get called down for dinner. It doesn't matter if you leave your BR, but it does matter if you leave your other games because it affects the team and things like that. So I think they're cool. This is a long rant to say that I agree with you. I don't get the BR hate. It's just more games. It's more options, right? I guess the only thing I can think of is that maybe other people think it's limiting the amount of options they're getting because I think a lot of companies are going all in on BR. But
obviously, I prefer if it could be a game mode, but BR is also one of those things that just has to be balanced differently. Like in multiplayer shooters, you can have different game modes. You can have deathmatch, you can have capture the flag, you can have King of the Hill, you can have all this different stuff that are balanced around pretty much the same exact kind of combat, but a BR is a little bit different. The thing I like about a BR, like you said, it's so accessible, and especially even if it can be casual, and then if you want to play competitively, in so many BRs you can just play solo. You're just relying on yourself or maybe one other friend or two other friends or three at most. Like, it just makes it easier to get a competitive team together if you really want to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, and there's also like like we talked about, like there's objectives in BRs. You can play different ways. You can go do other stuff, complete quests. And I know some people don't like that. It's like I just want to go play the game. Well, then don't do the quest and don't get your battle pass and shut up. Who cares? You can just enjoy the game then. You don't need the new skin.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's cool. I like going into Fortnite and having to do weird crap and like kill a certain people with a certain gun sometimes. I kind of like that because it just kind of shakes the game up a little bit. And again, it's stuff you wouldn't do as much, I feel like, in a very strict competitive shooter game because everyone's like really focused on winning. And I think, in a game like a BR where you're less likely to win, I think on generally, like just based on how many people there are, I think it's kind of fun. There's other stuff to do in this big map, and yeah, I really like it. So I'm really psyched for Ghost Recon Frontline, and it's too bad that it got delayed, obviously, but yeah, I'm hoping that doesn't lose the steam here. The little bit of steam it has. I know there's a lot of hate steam too, but we'll see. Speaking of hate steam, we're talking about Riot. Riot has announced a controversial new policy that they are removing all chat from League of Legends. So I don't know if you know, but like obviously in League of Legends, you can speak to your team as your basic chat, but you can also type /all and speak to the other team and everyone in the game as well. So they're quoted saying, "Well, all chat can be the source of fun social interaction between teams, as well as some good-hearted banter. Right now, negative interactions outweigh the positives. We'll evaluate the impact of this change through verbal abuse reports and penalty rates, as well as surveys and direct feedback from you all. So here's the thing. I have not seen anyone. I can talk about my anecdotal evidence, but also talk about what people say. Obviously, Riot. Well, I don't want to give them too much credit because they might just be doing this based on whatever. I was going to say, obviously, they have like something written here, or they have some like hard data that like tells them this is what's happening.
They
but
might be losing players over it.
Yeah, so we don't know, but everything anecdotally I see from League players as well as myself, the most toxic shit in League of Legends is my own team every time. Now, the flip side of that is obviously there's way more benefit. There's huge benefits to having team chat because you can actually coordinate with your team versus all chat, which is really there's no benefit to being able to talk to the other team besides to fuck with them.
Yeah, it's really just shit
or
talk. I mean,
or just like say good game. Like it's
right.
not. It's kind of pointless. Now I like it sometimes, but mainly it's to shit. It'd be like, oh man, like you fucked up, and then someone's like, and then everyone's like, oh, don't mind, don't mind this person in our team. He's been like feeding the whole time and like being shitty. So like, maybe you can report them at the end. But I've been on the bad side of that too, where someone will start. I'll pick someone's champion that they wanted because I picked it first or something, and then they'll tell the entire other team that I was like saying racial slurs and tell them to report me.
God.
And like I was arguing, but it's a he said she said, and I got reported by like a bunch of people.
Wow.
And like obviously, if that happened in team chat, they would have seen that I didn't do that, and they
Right.
wouldn't have reported me. So it was the other team reported me. Anyway, the point being is that team chat is primarily where I get most of my toxic chat in League because just that's primarily where I get most of my chat. I think it's pretty good-hearted most of the time, or like it's just kind of part of the game when someone kills you from their team and like gives you shit about it. I think that's fine. Also, you can mute the chat if you want to. It's opt out. You can just opt out of it. Whereas in team chat, people are relentless and very mad, and it's not about I killed you. It's like you suck and you're ruining the game for us, which is pretty toxic. I think it's League has a huge toxicity problem more than almost any other game, and I don't know if the all chat thing is going to fix it. I don't know if it's really even going to make a difference. I agree that there's no real major benefit to having all chat, but also I don't know if it's really going to help much to get rid of it. So
yeah, I don't really have any skin in the League game at all, but I will say it is kind of weird now. Like you were saying, there really might not be that much of a benefit to it, but at the same time, it's weird to. I feel like it's just weird to get rid of something that could be an opt-in or an opt-out. Like, why if you can turn it off? Does it really need to be removed? I mean, let it up to people on, personal responsibility if they want to just turn it off.
Or make it opt in. And I think that might be the other way around it, right?
Sure. Yeah,
like maybe make it, hey, there's like toxic stuff, but if you really want to go look for it, you can turn on all chat, right? And I think it's like that issue we get with a lot of games now where they're not giving options. And I don't want to get in like a whole talk about this, but it reminds me like that thing in Super Hot where they removed like a big part of the game that like referred to like suicide or something. There was like a part and it wasn't even like gross. It was just like someone jumping off a building, or you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they didn't like go like trigger warning. This could be triggering. Do you want to play with this? They just got rid of it. And it's like, I think there's a lot of stuff like that. Make it, I understand people might not be able to get there quick enough. And so, opt out isn't maybe the right way to do it. But like make it an opt in. Look at like old games where you had to like put in codes to do like, inappropriate shit or like crazy shit. Fine, make it like that. You don't even have to make it easy to find, but like if people are interested in it, people go online, people are on Reddit, people are whatever, say, hey, do you want to see this crazy part? Type this in or go to this setting and that'll turn it on. Fine. I just don't, maybe that's over the top. Maybe that's not even, that won't help either, but I don't know. I kind of like all chat. I'd leave it on if I could just go into a setting and turn it on. And I would totally understand too if they want to start the game off with it disabled, but I don't know. Taking it away is kind of weird. Now, obviously, it is a temporary thing. For now, they're saying they're just going to try it out and see how this affects harassment reports, which makes me feel like they aren't basing this 100% on harassment reports and are just kind of basing on what they think might help.
I can guarantee you're going to get fewer harassment reports. I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, it makes their job easier, right? In customer service and GMs, because I mean, if you take away all, you take away half, if not more, of chat that's happening in the game, right?
Yeah, no, all chat isn't very popular.
Okay,
it's all chats. Like I said, someone will be like, I would say in a game of League, I played it a good few hours, good, like by a few hours, like hundreds of hours of League. And I would say, most of the chat is team. I would say 90% of your chat is with team. Sometimes as the game goes long, or if you have a really chatty other team, they might start like kind of trolling the other players with each other, or just kind of someone might go like, wow, you suck, I've killed you like 3 times. But most of the toxicity and most of the chat in general is people trying to coordinate or like shit talk each other in team chat. I think this might, like, at the best, maybe remove 10 to 20% of their harassment complaints at absolute best, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see. Maybe it'll come back. All right, let's move on to something we had a fun time talking about a month or so ago. Epic Games officially credited Among Us for serving as an inspiration for Fortnite's Impostors mode via a casual tweet discussing patch notes. Later in the same Twitter thread, the official Among Us Twitter account came in and agreed to potentially work with Epic Games on something in the future. Cool beans. Sure. I mean, I have to say, it's bare minimum from Epic, but what can we expect? Inspire, if you look in the Epic vocabulary list, actually means just like fucking rip the entire game off wholesale. Like that's the nicest way. That's like the least they could have said. They're like, yeah, obviously we saw Among Us and we like, that inspired us. It's like, yeah, okay, you saw it. You probably played like hundreds of hours and like ripped every idea from it. But that being said, I don't know. Inner Sloth, sure, they came out. I mean, that's all they said they wanted in the first place. They just wanted just a mention, just because it's so blatant. They said, listen, we didn't patent, Among Us initially, but because we wanted people to make things, but we wanted you to like put a little bit of your own fucking spin on it at least. But also, they said their thing. They credited them. And maybe we might finally get that weird, fucked up Among Us character in Fortnite.
It could happen. Yeah. No, in Discord, after we saw this, I was speculating that I feel like Impostors mode, the player base may be dropping off a bit. So I was thinking that this could just really be Epic saying, okay, well, now is the time we need to invoke the name Among Us, remind people that Impostors mode is basically just Among Us, but in Fortnite. Yeah. So come play it, because it's something that you're already playing, but it's in Fortnite, which is awesome and cool and relevant.
You're already in Fortnite. Just open it up and just go to Impostors while you're here. No, I think that's a great point. It seems unlikely to me that Epic out of the blue here would just do something nice. I think you're totally right. That's a great point, that they probably were thinking, hey, we thought people would play this because it looks like Among Us, but I don't think they realize just how much I don't think they realize that this is Among Us. I don't think they're getting it. So we should just tell them this is Among Us. So just hey, stop playing Among Us and play this. And I think before they just thought if they ripped it off enough, it would track for people. But I don't think the kiddos maybe are noticing that it's fully Among Us, and now they just decided to fully blatantly say it.
I like the mode. I do. I mean, I haven't played it really since like that first week or two that it came out. It's just you can either do one of two things. You can either play it solo, or you can play it with an entire group that fills the entire game. Otherwise, if you're just playing with like 2 friends, 3 friends, 4 friends, and you're like less than half the group, it gets weird because you're talking to each other, and I don't know. It
broke it for us. Yeah. I don't think we had as good an experience playing. We played 3 of us together, and it kind of made it weird because we still wanted to stay on our team, like our Discord chat together, like talking to each other. But at the same time, we'd all get really silent when we were playing because you could tell that like we didn't want to give away that one of us was the imposter, one of us was the agent, to ruin the mystique of the game. Or we'd all say, "Oh, we're all agents," and then one of us would be the. It became our own little separate game where we were kind of like pulling the strings a lot, which kind of broke the mechanics. So I think that's probably how it works for a lot of Among Us stuff anyway. Like people, that's just the general vibe for it. But in Fortnite, where I think a lot of the gameplay is built around like playing with 2 or 3 or 4 friends, or 2 or 3 friends, I guess, it is a little weird.
At least with Among Us, you can choose the number of players in the game, so it can be built around that. I think Impostors is always, what is it, 8 or 10, whatever it is, it's always the same amount. You can't change it, at least not yet. And if you're playing with Paul, he'll try to turn everyone on you, whether you are the imposter or not.
I turn everyone against whoever I decide. I just like to be a duplicitous little shit. No, it's fun. I think Josh nailed it in the Discord chat where he said, If you're gonna play Among Us, just play Among Us. I like, and he doesn't even like Among Us, but I agree. I just think this game works better in a simpler layout. I think the Fortnite layout with 3D and these long corridors and stuff, in theory, sounds cool because it's like big 3D Among Us. But honestly, I find it kind of visually confusing. I don't like playing Among Us that much, so maybe I'm like being ridiculous here, but I think overall I like that style more. If I was going to like if they could build that, I don't want to download Among Us, you know what I mean? But if they put that like the actual normal game in Fortnite, I might play that more than I play Imposters, just because I think it's simpler for a game that's basically role playing. You know, it's basically like a party game you play with your friends, like Mafia. It's like Mafia or whatever, right? Or Werewolf or one of those things, right?
There are
Yeah.
third person and first person social deduction games that do it well. Fortnite's just not built for it, and
No.
I think it works fine. And I actually do kind of like it. I think it can make it a little bit more stressful when you know hear the footsteps coming behind you and that kind of stuff. But it just does feel a little bit jank in Fortnite. It just feels like it absolutely feels tacked on, and it is. And so it feels that way, you know.
Yeah.
But there are some really cool games on Steam that do the third person and the first person really well.
Is a no. Cool. All right. We're moving on, talking about our buddy Jeff Strain, who has opened a new development studio called Possibility Space. Quite a name. Strain founded Undead Labs, the developer behind State of Decay, but he had previously been the lead programmer on World of Warcraft and worked at ArenaNet in a similar capacity. This guy has MMOs in his blood, I tell you. So kind of cool. Possibility Space will be a fully work from home based studio. And it'll be an inaugural team of 14 game development veterans plus Strain, who will also be there. So that's pretty good. I mean, we're getting veterans now. Question is, what are they working on? 14's low for another kind of MMO type game, but I mean that does seem to be Strain's kind of thing. Matt, what do you think? Do you have any idea of what this could? I mean, obviously we don't have any idea, but do you have any guesses of what this might be?
I imagine it's some sort of co-op PvE game. You know, they're not going to go a full MMO route with a team that small, but something like State of Decay, where you're playing with friends and it's probably not going to be another zombie game. It's going to be something different, but the idea of this guy who has a good pedigree and a veteran team working on a co-op PvE game is intriguing. Now, it could literally be anything. It could be terrible. It could be great, but it's an intriguing idea. And they do have the full list of the names of all the people that are joining him and the companies that they have previously worked for. You can find it online. I didn't want to list them all out, but you can find it. There's a lot of good pedigrees there, like some big companies.
Yeah, it seems like a really cool studio. We're excited to see it. Not a whole lot to say on that, but just like something to keep an eye out for, right? I mean, there's a lot of cool new studios being founded. Like you said, a lot of great talent there, and Jeff Strain himself is great talent, so it'll be cool to see.
Did you ever play State of Decay?
I didn't. It sounded cool though, honestly, but I didn't really get into it. I'm just like we talked about before. I'm not a big zombie guy, and there's a lot of those kind of zombie games like that. I feel like that came out in the last few years, and I just never really jumped on it. Did you ever play it?
I briefly played the first one, which was one of those Xbox 360 like indie arcade games, I think.
Yeah.
And I played the first one. It was really janky, and again, zombies are not really my thing. We've talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it wasn't my thing, but there was a huge conversation about it. It was really big at the time. A lot of people were talking about it. So that's really what got me interested in trying it. I didn't love it, but I know a lot of people do love it. State of Decay 2 came out. I think that did fairly well. State of Decay 3 is coming out sometime soon.
Soon, right?
Relatively soon. I don't know if it has a date or not, but it's definitely like at the end of production or something. So yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what this guy can do. And he's also the guy who, because he was previously a Blizzard guy. I remember a couple of weeks ago when a lot of the Blizzard stuff was happening, he was the one who, like, he was like the big industry guy who wrote that open letter on IGN about unionization and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, pretty interesting dude. Obviously with the work from home based stuff too, it sounds like, obviously, based on the unionization letter and that, we can deduce hopefully there would be a studio that has pretty good, employment safety standards and the like. So yeah, pretty cool. I hope they have a good time over there and make something awesome. All right, moving on to talk about our final story of the day, which we teased at the beginning. G4 is coming back, but not just back, it is coming back to television on November 16th. It will be featured on Verizon Fios, Cox, and Xfinity. The launch lineup, of course, includes Attack of the Show and X-Play, but also we have Boosted, Ninja Warrior, ESL Gaming, and Dungeons and Dragons. There's a limited series for that, so the Critical Role style thing probably, or something like that. I think they mentioned like various different hosts kind of going in for that. What do we think? I mean, obviously, Matt, you and I both grew up watching G4. I think that's fair to say. Watching Attack of the Show, watching X Play, all that kind of stuff. I went through multiple phases where I first discovered it as it was kind of becoming more popular after the Tech TV merger, and then I went back over my misbegotten teen years and lamented the loss of Tech TV proper. I went really into watching old episodes of the Screensavers for months on end. So I mean, I have a little bit of a tainted vibe now when I see Attack of the Show and some of the stuff, and I think oh, this is the bro thing that killed all the cool tech content. But at the same time too, it was still cool tech and gaming content on TV. Which was really, really notable at the time, especially even in 2006, 2007, when I was, we had YouTube, but I certainly wasn't watching a 45-minute show where they showed all this great stuff and on YouTube, so TV was really great for that still. Are you psyched? Will you watch this? I know both you and I do happen to have cable for various reasons, sports or family or whatever. Is this something you might tune into on TV just to see, just for the novelty of it? I mean, does this seem like a good idea at all to even bother doing this on TV? The channel failed the first time because no one who watches this content watches TV. What do you think?
Well, I don't think my cable provider is going to be carrying it, so maybe somewhere down the line. But
I don't know what they're doing in Canada either, so I'm not sure on that.
I have a lot of nostalgia for G4. X-Play and the old Kevin Pereira, Olivia Munn, Attack of the Show days. A lot of nostalgia for that kind of stuff. It was how I got my E3 content. That's how I saw the new E3 stuff, was through G4. It wasn't through the internet. I mean, later on maybe it was, but a lot of it was through G4. Here's the thing. I don't think this is going to set the world on fire by any means.
No.
But there are a lot. If you have cable and you go turn on your TV right now, and you go to the guide and you start scrolling through, you're going to see a lot of channels that very few people probably actually watch, but they're still there. So I think it's going to have enough of an audience to at least survive. I don't think they're going to have a ton of people interested. The people who know about G4 were already watching them on YouTube and Twitch. I don't think they're going to necessarily get a new audience by going to cable, but like I said, you see so many random ass channels on cable that are part of your package that you've never even knew existed. So I mean, I don't see why they can't exist alongside those sort of channels.
Yeah, I mean, you got to consider that a lot of those channels are owned by major conglomerates, and so is G4, owned by NBC, NBCU. But I will say, again, there's just a reason this failed. They changed it into GQ Men back in 2013. There's a reason. I think that was what it was. There's a reason the channel failed because people weren't watching this content. The highest rated stuff they had on G4 was old episodes of Cops that they would show and stuff like that. And they were basically they were showing stuff that would be shown on Spike or something. And that's
Did you say GQ Men? Isn't GQ a men's magazine?
Yeah, so maybe it wasn't GQ.
So
Men.
redundant.
I think it was just GQ, but they mentioned something about men's lifestyle on the channel. I'm trying to remember back. I don't know why I said GQ Men, but GQ, yeah.
Okay.
Gentleman's Quarterly, yeah, of course. Yeah, in general, it failed, and they were showing bro stuff, Spike stuff, because that's kind of what there was a cross section there for sure of the kind of humor that was on G4 and the kind of personalities crossed with that kind of content. But then as that content became more popular, they attracted more of that, and the shows became more of that. I think a lot of people were starting to consume, and I don't want to, the numbers aren't there, I'm sure, but you look at stuff like Revision 3 and, Leo Laporte's Twit stuff. A lot of these people who were on these old channels started making their own online content just as it started becoming more feasible. And I think a lot of people who wanted to watch this stuff, I stopped watching Attack of the Show and started watching, Revision 3 and watching more Dignation. This is ancient stuff, but I still did. And I would follow this stuff, and
Web 2.0.
Even Captain Pereira's, what's that?
Web 2.0, was that?
Web 2.0, and even I said Captain Pereira, Kevin Pereira. I'm thinking of his screen name is Captain Immy, I think. But Kevin Pereira's podcast and stuff. So I mean, I think a lot of people have started moving to the internet for this stuff, and I think there is ways to make those shows profitable on the internet through Patreon, through sponsorships, through hosting networks, and then selling ads off of those. There's a lot of ways to make online content like this relevant, and I think the G4 staff, these like old personalities at least, could easily make money doing that and find a niche audience. I think this channel thing, especially when the channel thing is not talking about a new launch. It's like, hey, G4, the idea of G4 was cool. Yeah, sure, we'll have Attack of the Show and X-Play, but we'll also have all these brand new shows that are totally different. It's like, we're going to show what G4 would be in 2021, like the difference, right? They're just like, they're bringing back all of the shows from like 2013 and 2005 and 2000, all these shows that failed because no one was watching them anymore. And notice that it's a lot of people who, Olivia Munn went on to do something else. So Kevin Pereira is still here for Attack of the Show, and Morgan Webb has gone on to do a lot of really successful stuff. And sorry, I'm blanking for some. Adam Sessler is still there for X-Play. We're seeing a lot of these people who, and we see this with like all these show revivals too on Netflix, or we see it with like people doing rewatch podcasts of the shows they were on. There's a lot of hanger-oners to stuff where it was like, this is the best thing they ever did, and they may never do anything bigger than this. And I really feel like this G4 channel is all those guys have somehow gotten together with like a business plan and some internet hype and pushed this to the forefront. And I gave it 2 years.
2 years is generous.
I honestly think 2 years is quite generous, but I think it takes some time, and like the company, like I think NBCU won't want to like just like kill it immediately, because you might want to see if you can make it work. But 2 years before Cops is running full time every hour of the day, when it becomes GQ again.
I said this in the Discord as well. I think part of the issue is, like you were talking, this is the old guard sort of coming back and forming this team again together. Like they're getting the band back together, right? This is weird to say. They're not old, but they're of a different generation of media, and I think that they feel like they need this validation of being on television to make it seem like that what they're doing is real, or that it's meaningful, that it actually means something. That's not really the case, but I do think that they have this mindset where they feel like they need this to be on television.
It's not at all the case. It's actually kind of like tone deaf. I don't understand. Honestly, like to me, here's the thing. In 2010 or whatever, when this was happening, right? You might have brought an internet person on Attack of the Show or one of these, or a G4 show, and given them a show. And at that point, even though TV was clearly dying, cable TV was and is dying. I think you could still look at that and go, yeah, sure. There's like YouTube, and there's obviously things, and people are making billions of dollars on YouTube, or almost, or whatever at the time. But TV's still TV. TV's still, you made it, right? Like Liza Koshy, or was it not Liza Koshy? Sorry. Who's the one who got the late night show? The TikToker, not Liza Koshy, but the other one. It doesn't matter. She got a TikTok show, or she had a TikTok, or like Vine, and then she became a late night host, and she took over one of the slots. I think it was like the old Carson Daly slot or something.
Oh wow, okay.
And it was like, oh, she made it, and it's like she was doing very well on the internet, and the show kind of bombed and got canceled. And it's like, yeah, because like, that's not who TV is for anymore.
Different
TV is
medium.
for the few people. TV is for the people who haven't managed to figure out the internet and are just keeping it around. And like they're for boomers that are watching TV. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I don't think making anything new or hip or up or I think making new cable channels is just a bad idea at this point, unless you're, especially when it's not targeted at the only people buying cable subscriptions. And maybe I'm out of touch too, because maybe there's like, it's like anything, right? There's probably huge parts of civilization, especially like the Western world in America. There's probably huge parts in the middle where no one has good internet and they still watch TV a lot. But those people probably aren't watching tech TV or gaming TV. And sorry, I went off my point a little bit, but what I was going to say is maybe in 2010 you might have still thought, hey, this YouTuber got on TV and now they've made it. At this point, they are bringing on new people besides the old guard. They're bringing on Twitch stars and YouTube stars and people, and they're featuring them and giving them their own shows and bringing them onto the roster. But listen, this isn't them making it. This is the Twitch people like throwing a bone to the TV channel. Right. This is not the other way around. They're doing it's Twitch people who grew up watching. You see that a lot on all the content over the last year that they've shown for G4. It's all like the Twitch and YouTubers and stuff who are being involved, who are younger, obviously, than the original cast, were the people who grew up watching G4. So like, it's so cool to get to hang out with the people I watched on TV as a kid who are my heroes. But I think that like blinds you a little. I'm not trying to say they're making bad business decisions, but I think it blinds you a little bit to the fact that like hey, they're doing favors. Like this is cool for them to get to work with their favorite people, but it's not cool for them that they're doing a cable show. That's just like a part of what they're doing, so they get to hang out with their old people and be part of the new G4, and they can be that for other kids. But it's like, think about it. Your Twitch channel is that for other kids, not this channel, not this TV channel. No
You
one's
know,
watching it.
as you
I'm
were,
sorry.
well,
It's
it's
so
funny.
many.
Like as you were ranting and you were mentioning how like TV's for boomers now, and I feel like cable TV is being held up by sports and 24-hour news, which you can play in your car service shop or your airport or whatever. But let's be honest, maybe G4 is going to exist for that same group of people to get their window into gaming and tech. Maybe it is for an older crowd.
Maybe
That's what it's going to be.
And then dump the Twitch people. Bring Leo Laporte back.
Yeah.
I'm sure he will appeal to the older crowd for you.
Yeah. I mean,
got it.
I think that's really the only way that this sort of thing works is if it's for that sort of crowd. But I don't know if there's enough of a population there.
It's the same thing. And this is the last thing I'll say. We're going on, but how often do you get to talk about G4 a little bit? But honestly, I'll say there was a time recently God, this was like 4 or 5 years ago, when Leo Laporte on Twit bought back or had the rights. He was allowed to use the name Screensavers again. And he started the new Screensavers, and he rebooted the Screensavers, and they kind of like aped the old show. It started like the old show. He's on his he built a set that looked kind of like the old set. And you know what? I liked the Screensavers. I wanted a new Screensavers, and they even brought back personalities that I liked. But the problem was all the personalities were out of touch. They barely worked in the industry anymore. Some of the new people I didn't care about, and it was like watching a TV show from 2004. In the first couple weeks, it was cool because it was nostalgia, but ultimately, I felt like I was going back in time, and I would rather watch more modern people who have moved with the flow of how media has changed over the landscape instead of trying to reboot a show from 2004. Now, obviously, I understand why Leo did it, because he is aged, and this is like, for him, this is like his pinnacle. And what does he care? He's it's like, this is what his channel is built on. Old boomers who loved watching the Screensavers 20 years ago.
Right.
But this is trying to be a TV channel, and they're building it around, I don't know. They're building it around something that's like 10 years outdated 10 years ago.
I mean, just looking at the launch lineup, Attack of the Show, maybe it lasts. X-Play, maybe it lasts. Ninja Warrior is probably going to be one of the more popular shows. The Dungeons and Dragons thing, people want to watch that on Twitch so they can interact with it. They don't necessarily want to watch it on TV.
Plus, we have so many good versions of that. We have Critical Role, and we have D20, and there's so many great. There's like Thrilling Adventure Zone. There's a million things.
I wouldn't be surprised if the lineup really just turns into something completely different in a year or two. Like you were saying, even if they don't want to shutter the channel, maybe it really just becomes something different.
That's why I said it's going to become Cops, or it's going to become another bro channel until they go, well, this is kind of stupid to keep a channel open just for reruns of Cops. So we're just going to try to launch someone else on this network. Right. We'll rebrand. But yeah, obviously, I don't know. I'm done. I ranted too long. I think it's a huge fail. I think if they tried to run this 24 hours on Twitch, it would have made them less money initially, but ultimately maybe been like a crazy, wild, cool experiment that might have worked. But whoops.
They got NBC money, so
they do. That's what it is. They have NBC money, and they somehow convinced someone or a team of people to take a chance on this channel again. Thanks to all the renewed support and like excitement from all the people. Like they're like, hey, look, we still have people who want to watch this. And it's like, but how long will they watch it?
I didn't even think that like the new YouTube support was that massive. I know that they were on Twitch. I don't know. It's been a month. People can hear it playing. Like looking at some of their stuff, like it looks like they average between like 10 and 40K views. I mean, definitely not bad. Certainly way better than us. But I feel like Adam Sessler, when he was with Rev3 Games, like they were doing better numbers than that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure it was better than that. So, I mean, if you're getting these kind of views on a YouTube channel, what do you think you're going to get on TV?
It's just one of those things, right? Where like Rev 3 Games was just like a new thing. They just made a new show and they made it. They didn't make a whole big hub. They spent a year with this G4 thing, like hyping everyone up, and all the content has just been content about how they're excited. And they've also made some stuff too that's like actual stuff. But ultimately, people just want to watch a good show. Like, stop doing all this weird hyping
Right.
and we're trying to build the roster. Here's like the dream team. And it's like, I don't care who your dream team is. I'll just watch a show. And if I like it, I'll end up liking that person. Like, chill.
The thing is, like,
Chill, guys.
something like XPlay has to be a different show. You can't do delayed game reviews on television. Like,
Yeah.
It'll have to be completely different. I don't know.
Or it'll be exactly the same and we'll fail. Anyway, we are just clearly jerky cranks over here, just rude gentlemen spending like 20 minutes shitting on this. But good Lord, what a terrible idea. All right, well, on that note, I don't know. Let's wrap up. Hopefully we last more than 2 years. Although hopefully in those 2 years, we'll get a few more than 10 to 40K subscribers. Can you imagine?
Ooh.
What a life! What a life!
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. There's a couple dudes on here who think they know everything about television. All right. Before everyone heads out of here today, I do have a couple things to remind you. If you made it all the way through to the show this far, you rock. Thank you so much for listening to us. Clearly you like us. So if you like us, if you could just open up your phone real fast, super fast, and just give like a little 5-star rating or a thumbs up or a like on however you're listening to this podcast, it means the absolute world to us, and we would appreciate it so much. And if you can maybe comment or leave a review, that is also super stellar. And any engagement really, really helps us a lot. Like literally one comment will make our week probably, and we'll talk about it on the show. I'm not afraid to say that we're small, but we're excited to hear more from people who listen, because there are listeners out there and we know it to be true. Also, we have a whole website, goodnightgroofs.com. There we have this podcast. We also have links to our other podcasts, including our all-encompassing gaming podcast, Game Groofs, that comes out on a Sunday. But you know what? If you just can't wait for Sunday, you can listen to it on a Friday if you are a patron. We have a Patreon, patreon.com/goodnightgroofs. And over there, we do have a $1, $3, and $5 tier. The $3 tier gets you early access to Game Groofs on a Friday instead of a Sunday. So you can listen to it on your commute home as opposed to your commute to work on Monday. Who wants that? I tell you. Or, if you don't have the money, just save it till Friday. But promise to comment because we like it. We love to hear from you. Matt, do you have anything else to say before we kick out of here for the end of the day?
Well, just so we're clear, I only started Goodnight Groofs because my G4 application was denied. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, it was like, honestly, it was between you and Gus Johnson. And they ended up picking Gus.
Yeah. It was a close race, but
not the first time you've lost out to him. Anyway, one last reminder to check out twitch.tv/goodnightgroofs because we are planning to do some spooky Halloween streams hopefully in the next couple weeks. So definitely make sure you tune into that. Matt just did a spooky little
I was doing like a little spooky thing, but because of the frames per second on my camera are so low, it didn't really you couldn't really
register super well. Yeah. A lo-fi ghost, which actually sounds like a really good Spotify playlist. Ooh. All right, that is it for today. We'll see everyone on Friday for a laid back chill Friday episode, maybe some soda facts coming in hot. That is it. And good night, Groofs.
Oh, I'm a ghost.